Certain early childhood experiences have sprung to mind lately that perhaps set me up with a lifelong habit of avoiding feeling vulnerable if at all possible. Or maybe I came into this life wanting to learn the lesson of being authentic regardless of what happens around me. But for whatever reason, my whole life I've had a strong as steel desire never to appear weak, ignorant, or foolish. In second grade, my teacher was Sister Vianney, a strict, humorless, stereotypical Irish nun. We memorized numerous poems in her class, and one day she read us Casabianca. You know the one. The boy stood on the burning deck, whence all but he had fled. The flame that lit the battle's wreck shone round him o'er the dead. It seemed to me about a half hour long and was as depressing to me as gazing at Jesus dying on the crucifix in the sanctuary. Sister Vianney asked, "Isn't that a beautiful poem? Would you like to memorize that?" Simultaneously, Kathy honestly said, "No," while the rest of the class, kissing up, said, "Yes." Sister Vianney, shocked, said, "Who said no?" I sank a little in my seat as I looked around innocently. Ooh. So honesty is not always the best policy. Come to think of it, I could probably name 1,000 instances of where I never showed my face again out of embarrassment, or when I said I'd done something or knew something when I didn't, or behaved in a way I thought I was expected to instead of how I wanted to, or in some way concealed my real me in order to appear someone I wasn't but thought that I should be. When I was probably in my early 40s and autocrossing in Denver, a guy named Van had taken a newbie for a demonstration run in the newbie's Corvette to show him how it was done. This was a common practice, and novice racers were typically quite impressed by just how fast their car could go and how it would feel at the hands of an experienced driver. Well, Van clipped a curb on the narrow course and did some serious damage to the car that was not his own. I was surprised to see him at the next event. I thought maybe he'd be afraid to show up. I asked him how he was doing. He said he was embarrassed. He had been showing off and felt so humiliated. I was totally taken by surprise. He was totally vulnerable with me, and I was only an acquaintance, really. He admitted out loud that he felt embarrassed and humiliated. He confessed he'd been showing off. I was dumbstruck at his transparency and honesty. It would never occur to me to admit I felt embarrassed over something I'd done. I'd have to save face somehow. His humility struck a loud chord with me. Why couldn't I just say that I felt ashamed or afraid or uncomfortable when I did? Why? It would be so much more relatable and understandable and honest, and frankly, a big relief not to have to come up with some facade or nuance that molded the situation in some inauthentic way. Van's accident probably taught him some good lessons, but I'll always be grateful for the lessons he taught me too. When Brene Brown years later came out with her research on shame, the power of vulnerability, and being authentic, I was captivated. It turns out we all yearn for connectedness and belonging, and we can't truly connect with others if we're not vulnerable and authentic. It turns out the happiest people are comfortable with their imperfection and feel they are worthy of connection and belonging anyway. I often say and feel that I love getting older. There seems to be an inverse relationship between physical condition and emotional/spiritual condition. As my body sags, my sense of well-being lifts. I just now realize that perhaps I'm lifting because I am becoming more vulnerable and authentic as I age. I do feel worthy to be here as myself, and I also respect others' paths and their right to be here just as they are, without nearly the judgment I used to inflict on all of us. I'm sure I still unconsciously protect my image of myself more than I realized. But hey, as long as we hold the intent to move ever toward love of self and others, the more we shine that divine.